Brian Rosenwald joins me now. He's a fellow at the University of Pennsylvania and author of Talk Radio's America. Good morning, Brian. Glad you could be on our program this morning. So all eyes on Pennsylvania right now as a path to victory for either Trump or Biden. Just how crucial is the state? And do you think people are aware of how important Pennsylvania is when it comes to holding the keys to this election?
I think so. There is so much attention from the two campaigns being in Pennsylvania over the last, 48 hours and closing out their campaign here. I think that it is the most crucial state. Biden has pathways to win without Pennsylvania. Trump really doesn't, at least not if you believe the polls. But it is the most likely state to determine the outcome of the election.
Okay, we want to play a little bit of sound from both leaders and their message to people in the state. Let's listen, and I'll get your thoughts on the other side.
The great red wave is going to come over the next little while. It's coming, it's building. This is going to be a wave like nobody's ever seen before.
We can put an end to a presidency that fanned the flames of hate, poured gasoline on every opportunity he had.
Okay, so just how divided is Pennsylvania right now?
It's really divided. It's a geographically unique state in the first place, in that the Philadelphia region is very Democratic, as is Pittsburgh. And then in the middle, for the most part, you have lots and lots of places that are very Republican. So it's a hugely divided geographic state. And it's a state where people are, on both sides can't believe that their candidate isn't dominating, because everyone around them is on their side. They say, all I see is Biden signs, or all I see is Trump signs. But it really is the case of kind of two states fused together.
Is Pennsylvania more important this go round than it was in the 2016 election?
I think to some extent, yes. And that's mostly because in 2016, Republicans hadn't won the state since 1988 in a presidential election. It seemed very likely to go for Hillary Clinton. It was a state that Republicans always targeted, but never won. So I think there was a complacency. This year, people know that it's a state that is likely to determine the election, and are, on both sides, uncertain as to the outcome, even though the polling shows Biden ahead. I also think that it's a unique state in that before 2020, we never had early voting. So even with mail voting available to everyone, there's been much less of the overall vote cast in Pennsylvania than there has been in some of the southern states like Texas and Florida and North Carolina and Georgia, where they're close to or over their 2016 turnout already. So here we're only like a little bit under 40%. So there's much more of the vote still to go. So I think there's much more of a kind of palpable anxiety the last 24 hours here.
Right. And speaking of anxiety, and I got to maybe correct you on this one, it may not end tomorrow night. That
right.
Anxiety could extend into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Who knows? What does the mail-in voting present in terms of a wrinkle in the outcome of the election? Because a lot of those votes won't even be counted.
You're absolutely correct. Pennsylvania law says that before 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, they can't start processing the roughly 2.5 million ballots that have already been mailed in, that they've already received. So we are not likely to know the outcome of Pennsylvania tomorrow. It's seeming more likely as some of the larger counties in Philadelphia announced that they're going to start counting at 7 a.m. tomorrow, that we might know Wednesday or Thursday. But it's going to be a little bit of a delay here, and it looks likely that President Trump will be ahead tomorrow night, because a lot of these larger counties are very pro-Democratic and have a lot of votes. The Philadelphia region, Hillary Clinton won it by around 800,000 votes, and Joe Biden is likely to win it by more. So if these large counties haven't counted, you're going to have a huge discrepancy between what we know and what the final outcome is. Even though there's not going to be anything untoward, like the president is warning about, there's not going to be any fraud. It's just going to be, it takes time to count ballots.
Do you want to make a prediction, Brian?
I think Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania.
You do? Okay.
I
Brian,
do.
great to have you with us this morning. Brian Rosenwald is a fellow at the University of Pennsylvania, and he wrote Talk Radio's America.